you can live here for 100 years and still have more questions than answers. Rental Family comes to us from filmmaker Hikari, who worked on a film called 37 Seconds, a very underappreciated film that once was on Netflix, might still be there, if not, it's on another streaming service, and I encourage you guys to check it out. It does display how good of a filmmaker Hikari is, with familiar beats, coming-of-age stuff, what have you. And this is also written by Stephen Bahut. Oh, the filthy Bahamut! It's not like Bahamut, not from the Final Fantasy video games. I don't know why I did that. Sorry, Stefan. Sorry. Very sorry. So this features Brendan Fraser as Philip Vanderplug, who is a struggling actor that is living in Tokyo, taking on whatever acting gig he can. You know, he's been in various movies. He's just trying to make money. He's just trying to make ends meet. He will even do toothpaste commercials. We actually see something a little bit later on. It was in the trailer as well, at least a clip of it, but we get to see it fully played out. And it kind of reminded me of the Mr. Sparkle thing from The Simpsons. Oh, he looks like you. Ah ha ha, ah ha ha ha. So, after an early scene of getting a gig to be at a funeral, he ends up being hired by a company called Rental Family in a film called Rental Family. The layers this movie has, I kid of course, sarcasm, don't beat me up in the comments. And what do? They sell emotions. Why do they need him? They need a token white guy. And he is tasked with basically, if he needs to be the groom for a bride-to-be, then he's going to do that. If he needs to play an author, to talk to an old actor that just wants his story told, he does that. For a nominal fee, of course. And as is the case with like one main narrative, and actually he does have a couple simultaneous stories, but the main one, the main selling point, is him being the father to a young girl named Mia. And I have to say the actress that plays Mia, Shannon Gorman, is great, magnificent. That kid is going to go places. Reminds me of like the breakout role, you know, in Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. So I thought she was a really good addition to this cast, and I thought just carried her weight very well. And we do have other people that are involved in Rental Family. We have Mary Yamamoto, or Yaramoto rather, who plays Akio, and she's very good as well. She's in that Godzilla, you know, the Godzilla themed series. I think it's on Apple TV. She's also in another Netflix original called Kate. And there's also an old man played by Akira Emoto, who plays, I'm going to call him Nagasawa, because Kiko is his name, or Kikyo. Sorry, if I'm mispronouncing these names, I apologize, because I'm contrary to what you guys might think, I don't really understand Japanese very well. But he has some stuff that he confides in, Philip, and Philip plays an author named John when he's with the old man, and then plays the father Kevin when he's with Mia. And the idea is you play a role, you do good, you help them with whatever they need, but you don't get too attached. Well, unfortunately, that kind of ends up happening a little bit, and Philip realizes there are flaws in the system. And bingo bango, we have our movie called Rental Family. And I will be perfectly honest, the performances are what elevate this movie well above what it could have been. Brendan Fraser, his career renaissance, so magnificent to see. Again, the actress playing Mia, the young girl, terrific. I did find it funny that Brendan Fraser's assistant, Sonia, Helen Sadler, literally phones in her role. In fact, if you look at IMDb, she does a lot of voice acting. And I did like how it shows that even though he's been in Japan for a number of years, he's not as fully integrated into the culture as he would like to be. There are times where he's not sure how he comes across. And also, he's got his issues that come up a little bit later on in the movie. So really, it is a sweet, sometimes syrupy, sweet film with a good message and a feeling of genuineness for the most part. There are a couple issues that I will mention briefly, very briefly. There's just a bit too much convenience in this. It almost feels like, okay, we have to put a little bit of peril and we're done. And it does telegraph itself and follow some of the same beats that most dramas do, but Hikari's direction helps offset most of this to the point where, yes, maybe it's not a 5-star movie, at least not to me, but I can understand why some people would feel affected by it and think that it's really, really good and like one of the best films of the year. It is a very well done movie and well performed, and there are some sweet moments and even some heartbreaking moments, especially between Brendan Fraser and Shan, playing Mia. And I did enjoy the fact that, we got some genuinely funny moments. This isn't as good as Sentimental Value, but Sentimental Value was a lot, even though it had some humor, it was also a lot darker, a lot fucking darker. This does reveal things later on, and I'm going to get into that now. So it's in theaters right now, so there you go, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So basically, we see Brendan Fraser offered a role to sit in on a wedding, or not a wedding, but a funeral for an elderly man. And more on that here in a bit. I mean, it's actually, I think it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be kind of like a set, like a play, something like that, because the person actually wasn't dead. But more on that in a minute. He then is offered this chance to go and be part of the rental family. So his first task is being part of being a groom, marrying a woman named Yoshi, with an E at the end. No, not like the long-tongued dinosaur that probably made Princess Peach very happy in Super Mario Bros. You're welcome. You're welcome for that. That the Peach box has been licked by Yoshi. Now, why did I say that? Because I had to make you as uncomfortable as I am imagining this stuff. So anyway, he does it, and he does well. He's not so sure about doing it. He nearly backs out, but he didn't. It went off without a hitch. He's talking to her in the honeymoon suite, shall we say. The parents are happy, and then a door opens, and it's revealed the reason she wanted to have a sham wedding is because she's gay. She wanted to dishonor her family, even though I think her family probably suspected and probably just ignored it. Whatever. Good on them. That's a good, first act end right there, because the movie's only like an hour and 40-something minutes. It's like an hour and 50 minutes with end credits. But he simultaneously is doing the stuff with Nagasawa, the old actor who's also an author. Don't mention this one book in particular, but he does, which kind of frustrates the guy, but he does see him as a pretty good guy overall. And he's got memories that he wants to revisit, because he's an elderly man. He's worried he's starting to lose it. There's even a scene later on where he takes him out of the house. So they go to like a restaurant and they're showing some stuff, but then suddenly he wanders off. He's starting to get the memory issues, and Phillips shows concern. I mean, he played, I believe, John, I think was the name of the author character that he's playing, which I should have remembered because that's my name, just not with an HN. But while he's doing that, he's also being there for Mia. Even at one point, gives his number because they have sometimes where they go to this aquarium and they go to this fun stuff, and she makes some art, and he even goes there for parent-student day. And this one kid, his parent didn't come. So she invited him over, showing that she has a genuineness about her too, and he feels bad, kind of living this lie. I did like Yaramoto at one point. She was dressing up and pretending to be like the mistress of various others. And at one point, she got slapped. And I could be on the other side and she could slap me in return. I don't have issues. Shut up. Don't know why I said that. But as he gets closer to Mia, the mother's getting worried that he's a little bit too, wrapped up in this. But not in a creepy way, just in like, okay, you're supposed to play the dad. We're paying you, but like you aren't actually her dad. Yes, but you're trying to do this because it just shows how there's so much repression in Japanese culture still with this. Like, the mental health crisis is totally not appreciated over there because everybody has bad days, and some people have depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. And nope, they just want to ignore that. But as, things go on, he's talking to Nagasawa, and basically he wants to go to his old his home village, shall we say, his old ancestral home. I know it's ancestral. Work with me here. And he wanted to do it, but then after that episode of him kind of losing his memory, he's not supposed to take him out, so he's like, I can't do it. Old guy kind of freaks out, gets upset, gets him to leave, that kind of stuff. And then he ends up having his last session with Mia and has to say that he has to go back to America, do all this stuff, and do computer work. And he also is having issues with the fact that he never really had a father. Because he had issues with his father and stuff like that. And he actually reveals later on that his father passed away a couple of years before, and he had a chance to go to the funeral, but he just sat in the terminal. He didn't go. So he then reveals that he after, sometime around, realizing that and everything, he is done with Mia. Even though he didn't want to be, he wanted to take care of her because he cared about her and could tell that she really needed both parents. And he then decides to go with Nagasawa and says, hey, by the way, let's go with that jailbreak, the jailbreak idea he had, to get away. And they got away and they went train trips, ferry trips in the back of a frickin' delivery truck that doesn't even look like it would hold me. How the hell did they transport anything over there in whatever town that was, Japan, whatever village? So they hike around, they get to his old place, and he talks about like how he, developed a, persona acting on stage. This was his first stage, it was his old home, and then the next morning, he can't find him. Philip can't find him. Oh shoot, what the hell is going on? And meanwhile, he is being told by his boss, do not get too close and everything because things are having issues. People appreciate what you're doing, but they also don't understand because of the translation, language barrier, whatever the fuck you want to say. And boy, probably heartbreaking stuff with Mia. Pretty heartbreaking stuff with Mia, especially when he had to say goodbye. But then he sees Nagasawa digging around this tree, digging like whatever. What's he doing? So he's trying to help him and everything, clears it, and he gets this it's like a time capsule. I'm trying to think of the word, but they had one of them in Crossroads. They buried a box with a whole bunch of other stuff, and somehow it didn't erode. But anyway, it's like an old urn or something or whatever it is, and he starts taking stuff out, and he finds a pocket watch, and he finds some old photos. And it's old photos of his life before his life now. And it was his first love. And he went to Tokyo and, went when he was young, and she ended up passing away, and he just never had that closure. And I wanted to remember before I lost everything. A variation, I'm paraphrasing that line, but it was really fucking moving, and great work by Mr. Emoto. I mean that. Great work here. Like, that was a really powerful scene. Seems like that helped offset the issues I had with any of the conveniences. And that's great. They're walking along. It seems like he's getting a little labored, but then he takes another call. And by the way, one thing that his agent did do for him that he ended up turning down, this is about halfway through the movie, he wanted to be there for me and turned down an opportunity to work on a series in Korea that would have been more money and probably would have been pretty good for him, but he decided not to do it because he made a promise to somebody. Then that went tits up, and he's probably thinking, man, I really should have taken that series, but then he wouldn't have had the character growth, and we wouldn't have had much of a movie. It would have been like 1 hour at the most. But he takes a call, and his boss is upset. You kidnapped your client. Well, no, I didn't. And then Nagasawa collapsed. And he lived, at least for a little bit. I mean, he didn't live for long, but he lived long enough. The police are going to deport him because, he's there. He may have been living there for a while, but it's like, you killed one of our citizens. We're kind of going to have to get you the fuck out of here, man. But unless the rental family employees can prove what's going on, prove that he didn't kidnap him, this was of Nagasawa's own free will, he's going to get deported. That gets wrapped up pretty easily because Akio and another guy whose name escapes me right now played lawyers, and then the boss shows up playing a cop because they're just trying to get information out, basically get him to say, hey, he didn't kidnap you, which he didn't, and the old man knew that even as the old man's brain is eroding. And so they got him out of that, and the mother of, Mia's mother apologizes to her for lying to her. She mentioned cram school at one point. I couldn't help but hear the line from Prince of Space. They slammed the iron gate on me at cram school again. But then we just reach our conclusion where he does show up and talk to Mia. She asks if her mom's paying him. Nope. Just, she liked him being her dad, all that stuff, but can't, it's not going to work. Except Mia then realizes he actually is a pretty good guy and introduces herself, and they just talk and everything. And it's sweet. It's a sweet moment. And then Nagasawa passed away. Because, it could have been the trip. It could have been just the fact that, I don't know. I think the actor's in his late 70s. So he's probably playing somebody around 80, whatever it is. Anyway, he ends up passing away. And much like that funeral scene before, but this time not with the awkwardness, he shows up and it's clearly emotional. Like, people are cutting off flowers. White flowers, whatever kind of white flowers those are, and putting them in there. And he even had the old photos of his life before his life and put them in his pocket so he could carry those memories on. And that was good. And then changes are made to the rental family thing. They're not going to do apology services anymore like they've been doing. And Philip's working with them, so things are going good. And then he shows up at one of these temples. I believe it's to pay respects, does that kind of stuff. And that's where our film ends. There are things I probably forgot to mention, but it is really, it's moving. It's well done. It gets an A- for the positives. Again, there are a couple things. Just keep it away from being a 5-star A+ movie, but A- because the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Retlin. Until we visit Japan and every city out there, that would cost a lot of money and would require a lot of globe-trotting and traveling. Let's get New Japan on it. Anyway, happy trails to you.